Most men don't wake up one morning and suddenly notice that their testosterone is low. Instead, the changes usually happen so gradually that they're easy to dismiss. You feel a little more tired than usual. Your motivation isn't what it used to be. You lose muscle despite staying active. Your waistline slowly grows, even though your eating habits haven't changed very much. Your interest in intimacy fades. You blame stress. You blame getting older. You tell yourself, this is just what happens after 40. But is it? The answer may surprise you. Many of the daily habits that quietly reduce testosterone have nothing to do with aging itself. They're woven into modern life. How we sleep, what we eat, how we handle stress, and even how much time we spend sitting. The encouraging news is that some of these habits are within your control. Improving them won't guarantee higher testosterone, and they aren't a replacement for medical care when it's needed. But research suggests they can help support your body's normal hormone production and improve overall health. Today, I'd like to walk you through 7 everyday mistakes that may be working against your testosterone without you realizing it. One of them is so common that millions of men repeat it every single night. We'll come back to that in just a few minutes. First, let's understand what testosterone actually does. Many people think of testosterone as nothing more than the hormone responsible for sex drive or building muscle. In reality, its job is much broader. You can think of testosterone as one of the body's project managers. It doesn't do every job itself, but it helps coordinate many of the systems that keep your body functioning well. Healthy testosterone levels contribute to maintaining muscle mass, supporting bone strength, producing red blood cells, regulating fat distribution, maintaining sexual function, and influencing mood and energy. That doesn't mean more is always better. In medicine, balance almost always matters more than extremes. A healthy level is very different from chasing unnaturally high levels through unsafe supplements or anabolic steroids. Another misconception is that every tired man has low testosterone. Fatigue has dozens of possible causes: poor sleep, depression, thyroid disease, certain medications, vitamin deficiencies, heart disease, even simple dehydration can leave you feeling exhausted. That's why symptoms alone can never confirm low testosterone. Only appropriate medical evaluation and blood testing can do that. Still, lifestyle plays a bigger role than many people realize. Let's begin with one habit that often surprises people. Number 7, sleeping less than your body needs. Many people think sleep is simply the time when the body shuts down. In reality, your brain and hormones become incredibly busy while you're asleep. Think of your body as a factory that operates around the clock. During the day, the factory focuses on production. At night, it switches into maintenance mode. Equipment is repaired, supplies are restocked, systems are inspected, hormones are carefully regulated. If those overnight maintenance shifts keep getting cut short, problems begin to accumulate. Testosterone production follows a similar pattern. A large portion of a man's daily testosterone release occurs during sleep, particularly during the deeper stages. When sleep becomes shorter, fragmented, or consistently poor in quality, that process may be disrupted. Several clinical studies have shown that even a week of restricted sleep can reduce daytime testosterone levels in healthy young men. The effects may be even more noticeable in middle-aged and older adults, whose hormone production is already changing naturally with age. But duration isn't the whole story. Someone can spend 8 hours in bed and still wake up exhausted if conditions like obstructive sleep apnea repeatedly interrupt breathing throughout the night. Many men don't even realize they have sleep apnea. They simply notice loud snoring, frequent awakenings, morning headaches, or overwhelming daytime fatigue. Because sleep apnea has also been linked with cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, and metabolic problems, it's worth discussing with a healthcare professional if those symptoms sound familiar. Here's something many people don't realize. Sleeping just a little longer on weekends doesn't completely erase the effects of chronic sleep deprivation during the week. Your hormones prefer consistency. Keeping a regular bedtime and wake-up time, even on weekends, can support healthier sleep patterns. That doesn't mean perfection. Life happens. The goal isn't to sleep perfectly every night. The goal is to give your body enough opportunities to complete the maintenance work it depends on. Now, you might be wondering, if sleep is so important, why do many men who sleep well still develop low testosterone? The answer brings us to another factor that's become increasingly common over the last few decades, and it has less to do with the bedroom and much more to do with what happens around the waistline. Number 6, carrying excess body fat. At first glance, body fat might seem like nothing more than stored energy, but biologically, it's much more active than that. Fat tissue functions almost like an organ. It produces chemical messengers that communicate with the rest of the body. When body fat, especially around the abdomen, begins to accumulate, those messages start to change. Inflammation increases. Insulin resistance becomes more likely. And an important enzyme called aromatase becomes more active. You don't need to remember the name. Just think of aromatase as a chemical converter. Part of its job is converting testosterone into estrogen. Men naturally need small amounts of estrogen for normal health, but when excess body fat increases aromatase activity, that balance can gradually shift. This doesn't mean every man with a larger waist has low testosterone, nor does it mean every lean man has healthy hormone levels. Human biology is far more complicated than that. However, researchers have consistently found a relationship between obesity, metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, and lower testosterone levels in many men. The encouraging part is that modest, sustainable weight loss, especially when achieved through healthy eating and regular physical activity, has been associated with improvements in testosterone for some individuals. Notice the wording, associated, not guaranteed. Medicine deals in probabilities, not promises, and that distinction matters. We'll discuss another everyday mistake that quietly interferes with testosterone, even in men who are fit, exercise regularly, and appear healthy on the outside. In some cases, it's happening every single day, without them recognizing it. The next mistake catches many men completely off guard. It affects busy professionals, retirees, athletes, and even people who seem to have everything under control. And unlike poor sleep or excess weight, it often can't be seen from the outside. Number 5, living with chronic stress. Stress itself isn't the enemy. In fact, your body was designed to respond to stressful situations. If you suddenly step into the street and hear a car horn, your heart beats faster, your breathing changes, and your brain becomes intensely focused. That's your body's emergency response system doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The problem begins when that emergency response never truly switches off. Think of cortisol, often called the stress hormone, as your body's emergency manager. During a crisis, cortisol helps direct energy where it's needed most. But imagine a town where the emergency sirens blare every hour of every day. Eventually, normal life begins to suffer. Maintenance is delayed, repairs are postponed. Resources are constantly diverted toward handling emergencies. Your hormones work in much the same way. When psychological stress becomes chronic, the body tends to prioritize survival over functions that aren't immediately essential. Over time, persistently elevated cortisol may interfere with the signals that help regulate testosterone production. Researchers are still learning exactly how these systems interact, But it's clear that chronic stress affects far more than mood alone. Many men notice they feel mentally exhausted long before they recognize physical changes. They lose interest in hobbies. Their workouts become less productive. Recovery takes longer. They feel off, but can't quite explain why. Here's something many people don't realize. Stress doesn't always come from dramatic life events. Sometimes it's the accumulation of small pressures: poor sleep, financial worries, long work hours, caring for aging parents, relationship conflicts, constant phone notifications. Each one may seem manageable by itself. Together, they create a background level of tension that never completely disappears. One patient I spoke with described it perfectly. He said, "I don't remember the last time I truly relaxed." His blood tests didn't reveal one single cause. Instead, several lifestyle factors were quietly working together. After improving his sleep routine, walking regularly, reducing late-night work, and practicing simple stress management techniques, he reported feeling more energetic and mentally sharper over the following months. Not because stress reduction magically boosted his testosterone overnight, but because his overall health improved. And that's an important distinction. Healthy hormones rarely depend on one single habit. They're usually the result of many healthy habits working together. Now, let's move to a mistake that's becoming increasingly common, even among men who exercise several times a week. Number 4, sitting too much. At first, this sounds almost too simple. After all, how could sitting affect a hormone? The answer becomes clearer when you think about how the human body evolved. For thousands of years, daily life involved constant movement: walking, carrying, climbing, building, working outdoors. Today, many people spend 8, 10, or even 12 hours sitting, driving to work, working at a computer, watching television, scrolling on a phone. The body interprets movement as a signal. It says these muscles are needed. When muscles are used regularly, they send beneficial chemical signals throughout the body that support metabolic health. Prolonged inactivity has the opposite effect. Muscle activity decreases, calorie burning slows, insulin sensitivity may worsen, body fat becomes easier to gain, and these changes can indirectly influence hormone balance. This doesn't mean you need to spend hours in the gym every day. In fact, one of the biggest misconceptions is that only intense exercise counts. Research consistently shows that regular movement throughout the day matters. Standing up every hour, taking short walks after meals, using the stairs when possible, gardening, playing with grandchildren, walking the dog. These activities may seem ordinary, but over weeks, months, and years, they add up. Think of your muscles as one of your body's largest communication networks. Every time they contract, they release beneficial compounds that help regulate blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and improve metabolic health. The body responds to consistent movement far more favorably than occasional bursts of extreme exercise, followed by days of inactivity. Which leads directly to another mistake, one that's surprisingly common among men trying to become healthier. Number 3, doing too much exercise without enough recovery. Exercise is one of the best things you can do for your overall health. Resistance training, in particular, helps preserve muscle, strengthen bones, improve insulin sensitivity, and support healthy aging. But there's an important difference between training and overtraining. Picture a home that's being renovated. Every workout is like hiring a construction crew to improve the building. Walls are repaired, floors are reinforced, the structure becomes stronger. But if the workers never get the materials they need, or they're sent back to work before yesterday's repairs are finished, progress slows. Sometimes the building actually begins to deteriorate. Your muscles recover in much the same way. Exercise creates small amounts of controlled stress. Recovery is when the body adapts and becomes stronger. Without enough sleep, adequate nutrition, and rest days, recovery becomes incomplete. Studies suggest that prolonged periods of excessive training, especially when combined with inadequate calories and insufficient recovery, may temporarily reduce testosterone while increasing stress hormones. Elite endurance athletes sometimes experience this phenomenon. Fortunately, most recreational exercisers never reach that level. Still, it's a useful reminder that more isn't always better. Quality usually beats quantity. For most adults over 40, a balanced routine often includes resistance training 2 to 4 times each week, regular walking or other cardiovascular activity, flexibility exercises, and sufficient recovery between challenging workouts. Recovery isn't laziness. Recovery is part of the training plan. And speaking of nutrition, the next everyday mistake is hiding in kitchens all across America. Many men believe they're eating reasonably well, but one common eating pattern quietly works against not only testosterone, but also heart health, blood sugar, and long-term energy. The next mistake isn't something most men think about until their annual physical. By then, the effects may have been building quietly for years. Number 2, relying too heavily on ultra-processed foods. Food does far more than provide calories. Every meal supplies your body with the raw materials it needs to repair tissues, produce hormones, support the immune system, and fuel nearly every organ. Think of your body as a construction company. Each day, it's repairing muscles, replacing worn-out cells, producing enzymes, and making hormones like testosterone. Now imagine trying to build a sturdy house using low-quality materials. The workers may be skilled, but without the right supplies, the finished product won't be as strong. Your body faces a similar challenge. Many ultra-processed foods are high in refined sugars, unhealthy fats, and excess sodium, while being relatively low in nutrients such as zinc, magnesium, healthy fats, and high-quality protein, all of which play important roles in overall health. While no single food determines testosterone levels, consistently poor nutrition can contribute to weight gain, insulin resistance, and chronic inflammation, all of which are associated with lower testosterone in many men. One common misconception is that you need a special testosterone diet. Current research doesn't support the idea that one miracle food dramatically increases testosterone. Instead, scientists consistently find that overall dietary patterns matter far more than individual ingredients. Men who regularly eat vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, fish, lean proteins, and healthy fats tend to have better metabolic health than those whose diets rely heavily on fast food and sugary beverages. Another nutrient worth mentioning is protein. Beginning in our 40s and 50s, maintaining muscle becomes more challenging. Without enough protein combined with resistance exercise, muscle mass gradually declines. Since muscle and metabolic health are closely connected, preserving both becomes an important part of healthy aging. Healthy fats also deserve attention. Many people spent years believing that all fat was harmful. Today, we know the story is more complicated. Your body actually needs dietary fat to perform many essential functions, including hormone production. That doesn't mean eating unlimited amounts of saturated fat is beneficial. Instead, replacing highly processed fats with healthier sources, such as olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish, supports overall cardiovascular and metabolic health. Small improvements repeated every day often outperform short-lived restrictive diets. Now we've reached the number 1 mistake. Ironically, it isn't something you're doing, it's something you're avoiding. Number 1, never building or maintaining muscle. Take a look at your arms or your legs. They're much more than something that helps you move from place to place. Skeletal muscle is one of the most metabolically active tissues in the body. You can think of it as a powerful engine. The more efficiently that engine works, the better your body handles blood sugar, burns energy, and supports healthy aging. After about age 30, adults naturally begin losing muscle little by little. This process, known as sarcopenia, tends to accelerate with age if muscles aren't challenged regularly. Many men assume this loss is unavoidable. Fortunately, that's not entirely true. Although aging changes the body, research consistently shows that resistance training can help preserve and often increase muscle strength well into later life. You don't need to become a bodybuilder. You don't need to lift enormous weights. You simply need to challenge your muscles consistently. Resistance bands, body weight exercises, weight machines, free weights, each can be effective when performed safely and progressively. The goal isn't chasing the physique you had at 25. The goal is preserving the strength that allows you to live independently at 75. Here's another misconception worth correcting. Some men become discouraged because they don't see dramatic changes after only a few weeks. Hormonal health doesn't work like flipping a light switch. It's more like tending a garden. Healthy habits are the seeds. Consistency is the water. Time allows growth. The biggest improvements often come from combining several healthy behaviors rather than relying on one solution. Better sleep, regular movement, strength training, balanced nutrition, stress management, healthy body weight. None of these is magic by itself. Together, they create an environment where your body can function at its best. Now, it's important to recognize when lifestyle changes may not be enough. If you've experienced persistent fatigue, reduced sexual desire, erectile dysfunction, loss of muscle despite exercising, unexplained osteoporosis, breast enlargement, infertility, or significant mood changes for several months, it's worth discussing these symptoms with your healthcare provider. Diagnosing low testosterone isn't based on symptoms alone. Doctors typically consider your symptoms together with morning blood tests because testosterone levels naturally fluctuate throughout the day. If an initial test is low, it's often repeated on another morning before making a diagnosis. Your healthcare provider may also investigate underlying causes, including obesity, diabetes, thyroid disorders, pituitary conditions, certain medications, or sleep apnea. This careful evaluation matters because treating the underlying problem may improve your health without the need for hormone therapy. For some men with confirmed testosterone deficiency and appropriate symptoms, testosterone replacement therapy may be beneficial. However, it's not suitable for everyone. Like any medical treatment, it has potential risks and requires ongoing monitoring. That's why testosterone should never be started simply because of an online quiz, a social media advertisement, or an over-the-counter supplement promising miraculous results. In fact, many supplements marketed as testosterone boosters contain herbal blends with limited or inconsistent scientific evidence. Some haven't been adequately studied for long-term safety. Others may interact with prescription medications or contain ingredients not listed on the label. Whenever possible, it's far wiser to invest in proven lifestyle habits before spending money on products with uncertain benefits. Before we finish today, let's bring everything together. Low testosterone isn't always caused by age. In many cases, everyday habits quietly influence the systems that regulate hormones. Poor sleep, chronic stress, long hours of sitting, too little movement, overtraining without recovery, a diet dominated by ultra-processed foods, and neglecting muscle strength. None of these guarantees low testosterone, but each can move your health in the wrong direction over time. The encouraging news is that the opposite is also true. Small, consistent improvements often produce meaningful benefits. not just for hormone health, but for your heart, brain, bones, metabolism, and overall quality of life. Instead of asking, how can I raise my testosterone as quickly as possible? A better question might be, what daily habits help my entire body work the way it was designed to? When you focus on that question, healthy hormones often become part of a much bigger picture. Before we end, I'd like you to think about one thing. Which of these 7 habits describes your life most closely right now? Are you sacrificing sleep, living under constant stress, sitting more than you realize? Or have you been putting off strength training because you thought it was too late to start? Share your experience in the comments. Reading your stories helps us understand the questions that matter most to our community, and many of our future videos begin with conversations like these. If you found today's discussion helpful, consider subscribing to The Calming Cure. Each week, we explore what the latest medical research really means for everyday life, without hype, without miracle claims, and without unnecessary fear. Until next time, take good care of your health, because the choices you make today don't just shape tomorrow's hormone levels, they help shape the years ahead. I'll see you in the next video.